chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You will hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to the
Good evening,
show.
Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Well, good evening, everyone. Yes. Welcome to all of you on this Friday episode of Sabrina Speaks. It is Open Mic Friday. I'm turning it over to you. Yes, it's all yours. Lots have been happening. I'm just making sure I got my links up here so that we don't miss anybody. I know a lot of you depend on these links, and it's easier for you to find me. So let's get them up. I'm sending them out right now. There we go. There we go. Yes. Welcome, one and all. If this is your first time, hello. Welcome to this episode of Sabrina Speaks. Yes, Voices of the Islands, conversations for the world, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. It's Friday, and we've made it to the end of another week. But guess what? This is the last workday for January. Can you imagine? We've already done with January. January is finished. Heading into February. Oh my gosh, how time is flying. Yes. And what do you know? You can't say we're not going out of January with a bang, because this weekend could go down in the history books. And you may say, well, what the heck is she speaking about now? Yeah, I'm speaking about the powerful cold front that is sweeping across the whole United States, especially the southern part of the United States, and into much of the Caribbean. Because it's forecasted that winds are going to pick up and the seas are going to be, oh my gosh, we're going to be expecting lots of wave actions, and our temperatures. Yes, that's what I'm looking forward to the most. Our temperatures are expected to dip lower than we've felt in a number of years. That's what's being forecasted. I'm not a forecaster. So let's see what's going to happen. And for some, that's a chance to pull out those long forgotten sweaters and those hoodies. Yeah, now you got a real reason to wear a hoodie. I can't understand how you wear these in 90-degree temperatures, but now this weekend, everybody should be in a hoodie. I think it all depends. I like it. So yeah. And for others, it reminds them of nature's power and how unpredictable it can be. So wherever you are, wherever you're tuning in from, whether it's breezy on your breezy porch in Bodden Town or in a hammock, or you maybe you're out looking at this thing coming in East End, or curled up inside with a beverage, be it warm or your choice. It is Friday. I invite you to settle and stay with me this evening because I'm turning it over to you. We've got lots to talk about. And like I said, it's Open Mic Friday. That means the floor is yours. And what's on your mind? I want to know as we head into this possible historic weekend as it pertains to temperatures and what we can expect from the weather. And how are you preparing? Are you looking forward to it? What are your plans for the weekend? I warned you from yesterday, stay indoors. And what's giving you hope, or even what's keeping you up at night? It's all yours. you're allowed to call in, and I'm inviting you to call in 345-936-8255 and tell me what's on your mind, or you can always comment as you so nicely do here. Drop your thoughts in the chat and let's ride this wave together, because right here in Cayman, we speaks, and trust me, they're listening. The content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, or participants, is intended solely for general informational and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional, legal, medical, or financial advice. So I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for specific concerns. Bridge Media Limited and all its affiliates disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. As I said at the top, 345-936-8255 is the number to call to be a part of this conversation this Friday afternoon, cloudy, and it's windy and it's cool, cooler than normal. Yes, but let's go straight into it, into tonight's forecast and into tomorrow as well. The forecast for tonight calls for mostly cloudy skies with a 10% chance of showers. The temperatures will fall to the lower 70s. Winds will be northeast 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet, mainly along the northern coast, whilst also affecting western coast at times. Now, swells are expected along northern and western coast, and a small craft advisory will be issued for tonight for conditions tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, the forecast called for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers. Temperatures will rise to the mid to upper 70s. Winds will be northeasterly with, and that's at 15 to 20 knots today, increasing to 20 to 25 knots with higher gusts by nighttime. Seas will be moderate to rough with wave heights of 4 to 6 feet today, becoming rough with wave heights of 7 to 9 feet overnight, mainly along northern coast, whilst also affecting western coast at times. As I said, swells are expected along the northern and western coast. This will continue into tomorrow, and a marine watch will be in effect from Sunday night. There will be a high tide this evening at 7:50, a low tide at 2:24 a.m. tomorrow, and another high tide at 9:05 a.m. Sun will set this evening at 6:16, and sun will rise tomorrow morning at 7:01. The outlook calls for is strong northwest winds to persist through to Sunday evening, which would continue to produce some northern and westerly swells. The cold front will bring below average temperatures and very rough seas on Sunday and Monday, with strong to near gale force winds on Sunday and fresh winds from Sunday night. Now, because of that, a marine watch will be upgraded to a marine warning on Sunday. So there you have it, something to look forward to. I don't know about you, but as a child, I used to go out on the waterfront, Hogstye Bay, Seafarers Way, and watch those waves roll. Memory takes me back where I could remember once that where the KFC is right now, you literally had debris from the sea. The waves were actually rolling up there, and where they have it non-traffic now, where the refurbishment of downtown Cardinal Avenue, the water was coming up in the front of Kirk Freeport. Those days it used to be a jewelry store, if I stand to be corrected, and Le Perfume too. And, those Northwesters, we were talking to my family, and we don't get Northwesters as strong as we used to anymore, as I can recall as a child growing up right there on Gorin Avenue. And let me tell you, that's what I enjoy, watching those waves come up and bussing all the Ems Memorial Church and just popping on top of the Port Authority building. Like, you could just see this thing. So I'm looking forward for what this is going to bring. I'm sorry for those persons who are living along the coastal areas, because we know what can happen. We know what happened. Was it 2 years ago in January at Cayman Brack? Some of the roads were blocked off, and how much houses got washed out along was it down by Turtle Farm? Was that a year or two ago, if you can recall? But yeah, let's see what this one brings into the weekend. Just for all of you persons, your adrenaline junkies, please, 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 please be responsible. Don't go out there or our men and women in uniform service, to Coast Guard and all those, they're risking their lives, go out there. If you make a stupid decision with all of the warnings that are being given and you go out there and you put yourself at risk. So please, we want you to, even though it's tempting with the high winds and you surfer dudes, it comes with its own risk, and you're also putting others at risk as well. And thank you to all of our men and women, the frontline uniform services. Thank you for your service. And we know what Friday night brings here. Our 911 crew as well, taking those calls, the frontline staff. It is good. We thank you for your service. Let's continue to go along here. Happy birthday. I think I saw something where Regina was celebrating a birthday today. Regina, if I saw right, happy birthday to you, and to anybody else who's celebrating a birthday. Today has been one of those days, hit and miss. There's a lot has been going on, as you know, right here. And but again, it's all open mic for you, and I am excited to hear what's on your mind. Let's say hi, Marshall. How are you? Good evening. Happy Friday to you. I hope you keeping warm. Barbara G, good evening to you as well. It's always good to see you regulars in the house and definitely commenting very early. Damian Henry, happy Friday. And blessed weekend to you as well. Don't mention which one. What part that was, Marshall. Barbara G, finally I can wear my winter clothes. Yay. But you start wearing them from now. Go start wearing them from now. Because just as it come in, oops, she could go. So make sure you put them on from tonight. Practice from tonight, Miss Barbs. Connie Bonnie is in the house. How are you, my love? It's good to see you. It's so good to see you. Shaka Zulu is here too. How are you? Happy Friday. I liking that feeling. I can feel the vibe from you. I hope you guys not planning a lot of stuff outdoors and you're just hanging home and just being with family this weekend. If you don't have any commitments, I hope that you're all can stay in and enjoy it, or like I said, go watch the wave action, but do it from a safe distance. And I'm quite sure there will probably be some road closures because of debris. If that isn't already happening, I don't leave home too often. But yeah, it's going to be a good weekend, a different one. And yes, pull out anything that's warm. Darlene, you're here. Good to see you. Rolando, hello. It's good to have you here as well. Jimbo is here. Hello, honey bun. Mind you make Connie. You better big up Connie. You better give her one of those hellos, my love. You give Connie one of those hellos because she get up in her feelings. You see the temperatures, Jim? What are you trying to unleash here on this Friday? All fun, all fun, all fun. Marshall, don't mention anything about the. Well, we got to mention it. It's not too often we get it here. And that's what I'm saying. I'm excited to see not the real field temperatures, but really what our true temperatures will and can go down this weekend. So it would be very interesting how low that can go. Connie, what you say? I'm just here listening to you, being a troublemaker. Thank God I left my winter gears in the UK. Well, see, Connie, at least you can't say I'm not advocating for you. He acknowledged you. Yes, yes, yes. You're double checking. Jim is smart. He knows exactly what he's doing, Connie Bonnie. Remember that. I said that. Let's keep it locked local. It's all light and fun here on Fridays. We try to change the pace, but it's also your platform. So whatever you want to discuss today, whatever is bothering you, you're free to call in. But before, the phone lines are open. They're wide open. See there, Connie Bonnie? And she's sending it right back to you, Jimbo. This is too funny, too funny. I don't know if you realize, but today there was the 2026 National Education Conference that took place here today at John Gray High School Gymnasium. And what that conference did, it brought together teachers and administrators along with policymakers and education stakeholders from across the Cayman Islands. This conference was broadcast live, and it focused on strengthening teaching standards, improving current student outcomes, and it also shapes the future of Cayman's education system. So we're looking for the continued evolution, modernization, and of course, yielding in the results with what our young men, our future can actually, those grades that we're coming, and we're going to aim for an excellent report. I see, we celebrated the good school. We want great, we want excellent. That's what we want all of our schools to be performing at. And congratulations to all of those persons who actually put this and made this happen. And I watched it a little bit. I wasn't there long. It's Friday. I was trying to get a lot of stuff done here at work and at home. And yes, here preparing for today, even though it's open mic, we got to have content. And you're listening to the news and you're doing this. And we had a press briefing as well. The Minister of Health, she had a press briefing. The Honorable Kathleen Ebanks-Wills had a press briefing, and she introduced her board, but we're going to get to that. But I also saw in circulation, and thank you for sharing this with me. I'm going to share this with you. There we go. We see where the opposition has done a press release, and it says in this press release, the opposition says it's willing. Comes off the heel. Opposition calls for a clear roadmap on immigration and labor reforms. And what I'm going to do is just consolidate this. What they're saying, the opposition is saying that they're willing to give Minister Michael Miles time to fix problems inside Cayman's immigration labor systems, but only if he provides a clear plan. The opposition also says in this, and this is a synopsis, is that they agree Caymanians must come first, but say the government should have fixed long-standing system failures before rolling out a major policy changes and raising fees on businesses. The opposition warns that without proper sequencing of how you deal with this reform, that the country could face more delays, higher costs, and uncertainty for both employers and workers. And what they are also saying is that they're calling for a published roadmap with firm milestones over, let's say, the 6, 9, 12, and 24 months, saying Caymanians deserves transparency, timeliness, and proof that the system works before anyone pays more. Also, the opposition says real reform requires partnership, not friction, and they'll continue monitoring the progress. You can see this, it's all over. Media houses are carrying it. I'm presenting it here for you, and hopefully maybe we will have one or more of them call in. The phone lines are open. It is open mic to break it down to see where they're coming from. And I know that the minister as well, Minister Michael Miles, was on Radio Cayman this morning, and he was actually it was himself and his chief officer. And pretty much what I got from that is that I was actually writing down some notes that they are putting Caymanians first. But what was the key takeaway is to say that Cayman is open for business. They're not into the business of shutting down business. They just want to make sure that Caymanians are given the chance for upward mobility and access to training, and that once they get these trainings, that they will be promoted and no longer be kept back. And, the chief officer also says that they have pretty much had to retain some more legal drafters in regards to the regulations. They have had to look at 2 legal drafters, and they're looking at, because of more declarations and all that sort of stuff that having now to be report. And in the regulations, what is supposed to be coming, there's another reporting mechanism for marriage officers to report sham marriages, arranged marriages, from not only locals, but also foreign nationals, and that there are going to be more accountability from them in a reporting mechanism for marriage officers as well. There's a lot that has been said in that, but what was also announced in that appearance this morning is that they will be back on Monday for more. So I guess we'll all have to listen. And what was interesting, which shouldn't come as no surprise, is that the chief officer said that marriage is the biggest segment of becoming Caymanian here. And meaning persons marrying Caymanians is the biggest number in their pathway to acquiring Caymanian status. And at the end of the day, there's also in the regulations, they're putting a prison term of up to 1 year for persons who are making false declarations. So it looks as though he did admit, the chief officer, that is, did admit that this is huge. It's a huge task, and that the fees in itself is what I quote, to stand to be corrected, like 89 pages, and that the center focus of this particular phase of the reform is ensuring that Caymanians are put on first. They are first and foremost. It isn't about them being anti-business. And they did admit, the minister did admit, that the Cayman Islands is booming, which is a good problem to have. But training should be a priority for Caymanians, and that promoting should also be a priority as well. So it was reinforced that this is only phase one. There's lots more to come before the public can see and digest the regulations, because there's still a lot of work behind the scenes that has to happen. And because of the sheer size of the amendments and how the regulations will come into play, that's the clock is ticking, because that's supposed to come into effect as of March 1st. So lots are going on there. You know, we can have a total different show on sham marriages, and it boils back down to the enforcement arm of these marriages and actually calling them out. Now, what is being placed or what is being proposed that will be in the regulations is that the reporting mechanism and an imprisonment of persons who are found to be making false declarations is something now that is going to be in the regulations. So it's one thing what we actually discuss of what was in the public's domain of the immigration reform bill. And when you hear now about the regulations and the sheer size of it, it's going to be interesting to see the operational arm of the law to go through that, to see exactly how that will look at the end of the day. So yeah, there we have it. So let's see what more is going to come out. Like you and everybody else, you literally have to listen to media houses and to hear when the government is on various platforms in order to get a sense of what and the progress of immigration reform. And I know it was a big thing here. It has been national debate and topic and talking, and we're still seeing where there are articles out being placed in the media source where they're concerned. There was one that I alluded to earlier on this week saying that, and it was titled, thanks to Cayman News Service, a viewpoint published on January 28th, there may be trouble ahead. And pretty much what that is saying in regards to this, because you're having it from a legal perspective and of exactly what they're seeing based on what's in the public's domain and however they come to their conclusion. But this article of the 28th warns that Cayman may be heading into a significant immigration challenges as major from what they're seeing. Changes to the law are set to take place, as we said, in what was said on the floor of Parliament on the 1st of March. And based on what the article of this writer, the writer said, is that the new legislation could create a two-tier system for permanent residents, where some permanent resident holders would be protected under the new rules, and while many others, including children, may not be covered at all. And in this article, it also said that, you know, the concern is that long-term residents who believe that they were on a clear path to then Caymanian status may now face new hurdles, delays, or even lose their eligibility. Now, this is contained in this Viewpoint article that was published on the 28th of January. Also in that article, it says that it argues that government has not clearly explained how many people will be affected or what the real impact will be once the law goes live. And with the deadline that is fast approaching, the article suggests that many families may not have enough time to understand the changes or prepare for them. And this raises broader questions about fairness, transparency, and whether Cayman is ready for the consequences of these reform. So, as you know, you can go and read this. It's on Cayman News Service for yourself under Viewpoint. You can go and Google it for yourself. January 28th, as you know, the March rollout approaches, the public now, and you're getting all of these people weighing in on it, is being encouraged to stay informed and seek clarification where needed. And of course, right here, we will continue to follow it up as well. So the minister has invited the public, anybody who has questions, to reach out to him, and he will do his best to reach with employers, employees, just to give your feedback. So by all means, you just reach out to him and he's willing to entertain you. Connie Bonnie, Jimbo says, won't be the years on Monday. Having a couple procedures done. Oh, and we'll be out. Oh, with the crazy anesthetic nonsense. Say a little prayer, good vibes. Oh, Jimbo. Yes, my thoughts and prayers are going to be with you. I will definitely keep tabs on you myself. I'll give you a couple days to just get that out of your system. Brenda is saying, oh, yes, there we go. She's sending prayers for you as well, Jimbo. All the best from all of us here at Sabrina Speaks. And you know, I'm going to keep in contact with you. Wish you nothing but the best, my sweet. The phone lines are wide open. We want to hear from you today. It's Open Mic Friday. 345-936-8255 is the number to call. Live Happy says, not only are there sham marriages, there are sham jobs that keep people employed deliberately, long-term to gain status. I have seen this myself by a well-known business owner. Really? Let me tell you something. People will get all creative in order to actually just get through, and they have their plan. And if the gaps are there and legislation is there to actually allow what you've alluded to here, what you have declared here, people could do it. People just going to do it. And this is why immigration reform is so important. And what the takeaway is that this whole immigration reform is about putting Caymanians first and definitely making sure that Caymanians are first. And you will have those who will say it's about time, we're happy for it. And now you're seeing from a legal perspective under the Viewpoint article, the feedback of unintended consequences. And when you hear those lines, not to defer anyone, but anything can be challenged where human rights are concerned, and you're entitled to your appeals. And if there are any loopholes in stuff, someone may actually get a denied application. But if they go through the process, they can appeal it, get good legal representation to point out certain things as included into this article that could be in breach of constitutional human rights, that sort of stuff. And they could end up still getting it. They could still end up getting through. It's about time. We can't. Please all. It's about time. We can't. Please all. Yeah, it's true. It's true, Don. We used to see it. We used to see it in our days with the sham marriages and so forth. And it's one, Don, you got to admit too, sham marriages is one of the most difficult ones to actually prove. It's the investigative side on that. And people are so crafty until, you know, when it's bad, you hear from them. And then some way they mend their fences. And then immigration, the board then was being used as the mediator. I'm hoping that with this reform, that people would mature enough to know that that's not the role of the boards. That's not the role of the boards to play mediator or for you to use immigration law as a stick over your foreign husband's or wife's head. And that was where it was hard to really prove. But we know outright that there are some that, We know, Dawn, that there are some outright that is just arranged. They're just arranged marriages for whatever reasons, better way of life. And you give me something, as in money, and you shut your mouth, I'll shut mine. And those are the ones that they're really trying to stamp out, because those are the ones then that are still eligible to go through for the grant of Caymanian status, qualify for naturalization, obtain the Cayman travel document, go straight then for British registration, then acquire the UK passport. And guess what? You don't see some of them. They don't even take care of their children. And many of them will have Caymanian children, and their children are only become important when that time is coming around for them to be eligible for permanent residency or some sort of tenure application here. And then they become all involved, and it's all along. They haven't been a part of the child or children's life, making each other's lives a living hell. But then these are the things that I'm seeing they're trying to do, okay? But it's all within a balance. Once we see the regulations, we can say whether or not it's going to achieve a lot of these things. But as declared and said more than once today, this phase 1 is putting Caymanians first and foremost. No longer are you only good enough in your own country based on the cultures and the behaviors of some employers and organizations to do the grunt work, that you have given access to the skills, access to the right training. And once you do that, that there are clear pathways for upward mobility and promotions. That's what's being asked. It's good to say it. Make sure that you hold the gatekeepers accountable for making sure that that's going to happen. We can put it in law all we want. Not having it actually enforced will not necessarily help achieve what is being stated. And this is by no means throwing anybody under the bus. This has been a case of the conversation from day one, where you have beautiful legislations, but no enforcement. And enforcement needs, 1, the same training. 2, it still needs funding for equipment, and it still needs manpower. So you may have to hire some more persons. You may still have to upskill them within their job a little bit more. You may have to give them and fund budget for tools, equipment, that sort of stuff for them to be good at their job, that then in turns yields the result and help them enforce the legislation that is causing so much problems. But if your staff is not empowered, if you don't have adequate staff, if you don't have adequate processes and equipment and manpower, all of what you do in here is for naught. And case management, investigating a lot of these cases when it gets to the DPP or to make a ruling and stuff like that, a case can fall through the cracks if a case file is not presented properly, because everyone is entitled to defend themselves. And a lot of times it is simple training and upskilling that will be needed, but that largely depends on the funding and the opportunities that are given to the enforcement staff of any government agencies, and this is straight across the board, and training, ongoing support and manpower in order for them to execute their duties. Because the law says it gives them the power, but we have to empower them, first of all, by supporting them, have a strategy, and definitely give them training, upskill them, refreshers courses, modernize them with the latest laws so that they may know what it means and the implications, and then set them loose and let them apprehend those offenders and take them to the court system. And there we go. Everybody will be happy. If you do not see that in a society, and people are openly talking that this one is in a bogus marriage. It's right in your face. Nobody's going to believe it. Oh, this one is hiring. This one is not paying the salaries, is in breach of pension. And nobody's holding them accountable. What do you think will happen? It's going to be repetitive. It's going to be repetitive. And even though the laws are there, if nobody's holding them responsible, unscrupulous people and acts are going to continue. So it's everybody's business, but more so, I feel, with the legislation of this, what it aims for, the outcomes in which it's trying to achieve, a lot of it is going to be hinged on the operational arm, and those are the gatekeepers have to gatekeep. Shaka Zulu. Doesn't the immigration process require the PR applicant to prove that they're in good standing with child support and loans, credit, etc.? Yes, they can ask. But it's not so blatant, subject to change without notice. I don't know with this reform whether or not these are going to, how the questions are being structured now will actually change. Sometimes it's not until the application is being considered that maybe member or members may be familiar with a particular case, and they may ask the board at any point in time prior to making a decision, can ask for additional information to be presented with supporting documents. But it is in everyone's best interest, where child support is concerned, that you have that. But many a times, a lot of the parents don't even realize it, and they don't have, unless you're garnishing your wages, or, you know, it's a direct deposit or a deposit withdrawal, that you can show that back, which is always good to do stuff online. If you're ever going to apply for something, you can show where, look, okay, the child is not primarily, for example, living with me, but here's proof that I'm a part of this child's life. Every month, this is what I give. As mutually agreed, the child or children spends time with me on the weekends with permission. I can take the kid off island. We go here, we do it there. That's fine. That's all good. But what happens for those who don't do any of that? And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I'm reaching the end of my rollover, of my term limit. My final work permit is coming up. I should apply for this because I got children who are by a Caymanian. Yeah, man, let me just do it. And you may go and butter up that partner and say, yeah, you'll support me. This is where now, being proactive, you can say, well, how can you provide evidence that you're part of this child's life? But like I said, Shakazula, it's hard to prove because sometimes you know that they're not living up to standard, but because you're in a good patch and it's in the best interest of the child, and, I feel sorry for you, then you sometimes not tell the truth. There have been lots of cases like that, especially when they're child or children. And then there have been some who just honestly just use the child as a bargaining chip. And without the true information, then it's hard to really, really prove that these people are in breach of the law. But it will be interesting how this unfolds. It will be interesting to keep abreast of the media with how much cases are actually brought to court, because there are a lot of cases out there. But that depends on them being apprehended, them being caught. Live happy. People should be given a maximum time frame of working in Cayman, not counting in the rollover. And after that, no more work permit. Seek another country. Cayman is too small to retain every worker. But that's live happy. That's what a rollover for. People should be given a maximum time frame of working in Cayman and not counting in the rollover. Well, live happy. The law was designed for persons who are here on work permits to only be here for up to 9 years. However, because there are provisions in the law that one could apply to be here permanently, PR, but you had to have shown where you have been resident in the islands for X amount of time. That is a choice. The system is designed that at the end of your term, you should leave, take the break of a year. But what people do is that they don't leave. You have those who choose to actually meet the requirement and apply for permanent residence. And then the love bug hits some people and they fall in love and they get married and they stay. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not just that, because really and truly, the exiting clause of this jurisdiction, especially if you're here on work permits and now being introduced into the civil service, you were supposed to leave. Remember, there was a time where key employee, no one could just arbitrarily, once you've been here for 7, 8 years, apply for permanent residence, unless whoever you were working for had made an application for you to be designated as a key worker. And only if that application was approved by the board that you were deemed essential in that organization based on what evidence was put forth, that then opened up the door for one to have been eligible to apply for permanent residence. Okay, remember that? That was removed. The key employee was removed because of human rights kept coming into question, and that some arguments were made that employers were just not designating an employee, key employee, because that was their control over the staff, and persons had made the necessary investments, but without permission from their employer. That was like a blockage then. And then that came into question as to whether or not constitutionally, human rights standpoint of things, whether or not that was legal. So they removed the key employee, extended it to 9 years, and anyone can apply for the grant of permanent residence at year 8, but definitely before the end of their final work permit. So, that's just life. I don't know how we could actually do it any fairer. Now, pushing that threshold up, revisiting the point system. Oh, that's another thing that the minister said today, that they're also reviewing the point system. So let's see whether or not that's going to be changed significantly to make it to make it harder. But there's lots more. We can see this continue to evolve and transform as we embark on this immigration reform. And we can only just keep it here. Once we are aware of it, I will do my best to give you a synopsis, a breakdown of it. Once there's a legal document that's in the public's domain for digestion, of course, I will break it down and explain it to you. And like we're seeing all of these articles from other legal-minded persons, and they're seeing gaping holes, things that persons will actually possibly challenge. I'm hoping that the legal teams who's advising will actually point these things out, because it ain't no secret. They're actually published in a newspaper. So these are things that you need to try and do then to avoid these lawsuits that could ensue if this goes in as presented. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Shaka Zulu, that sound funny. That should funny and center as part of the requirements. Don't you think? Whoa, how lose those requirements? Shaka Zulu, come again. Hold on, I'm coming. Live happy. I know someone who married a gay Caymanian to stay here. She gave him $500. She was from Jamaica. Live happy. They still married. You see, all of these, thank you for sharing that with me. But that is illegal. And unless the authorities are aware of that, this is where both parties are liable. From the Caymanian that did it, to the foreigner who got married to that person for a fee. And that would have to be proven. The onus to prove that person guilty would have to be proven in the court. The evidence would have to be presented. And whether or not the person is gay or not, the fact that there was a fee is illegal. Forget the gayness. Forget all of that. The mere fact that that was an agreement, that there's a $500 fee, that's illegal. But you got to prove it. Reporting it and proving it is two different things. Because what if something started off like that and then it blossomed into a beautiful, lovely relationship? You see what I'm saying? So I feel sorry for the enforcement officers, but if people don't actually report these things, you ain't gonna be able to, you're not gonna be able to hold them. But live happy. I'm quite sure there is a lot of that going on. And we can say it, you hear Don and I back and forth. This has been going on for years. How do you nab them? How do you nab them? Because some of our people are so crafty in holding it down just because they may know people on the board. They don't want nobody to know and all that sort of stuff. And again, one of the disadvantages or some of the disadvantages of living in a small island where there's crap hitting the fan, to go into the board or even be called into the board to be questioned, there's pride. But what I'm trying to get across here is that Caymanians, do not give away your citizenship. Do not give away status by entering a relationship or a marriage just because. You cannot be asking for immigration reform if we are a part of the problem. If you see things like this happening, report them. And I'm hoping that the agencies responsible and tasked with investigating these will be equipped, skilled enough in order to lead to convictions of both parties. You hear me? Both parties. Because we cannot be saying, make it harder. Let's do this for revocation of Caymanian status. Let's do this. Let's take this away. But yet you have our Caymanians entering into a lot of these unions and they know it's not real. They know it's not real. So there's one thing to have the law, but who can you blame when only a Caymanian, once it's true marriage, a Caymanian is given it? Who you blame? This is one particular section, and I will repeat. Marriage is the biggest segment to becoming Caymanian, end quote, by the chief officer. Be it paper-made Caymanian or generational Caymanian. I repeat, quote, marriage is the biggest segment to becoming Caymanian. So who do you blame? Who do you blame? You can't blame the foreigner in this case. We, the Caymanians, have to take responsibility for that. We are the ones that are opening that door. We are the ones who are refraining from reporting the marriage is done. We tried to work it out. It's not working out, but maybe because it's only a year left and you'll be eligible to keep your status, I'll just grin and bear it for a year. Yeah. Because, you helped me with around the house. Yeah, you're not good. You're not a bad person. Oh, it's not worth it. No, you're just another little one. I'm not going to get immigration involved. There's a reason why I keep repeating that line. Marriage is the biggest segment to becoming Caymanian. Only Caymanians can marry a foreign expat and slide straight into status because it's easy. You have to have Caymanian status in order to give somebody RERC as a spouse of a Caymanian. Outside of that, they're subjected to going through the regular point system with PR. But if it's quicker, I can get myself that Cayman passport, get that UK citizenship, get that UK passport. Might as well me find a Caymanian. Who you blame? We got to own up to that. Shaka Zulu. There should be records for child support if it is being paid. This should be a word of mouth thing. It shouldn't be a word of mouth thing. Yeah, man, they have to produce records. But you remember back in the day now with this online transfer and all that sort of stuff, it is now becoming more prevalent where people are doing more online transfers and people are responding or realizing that the board is actually asking for proof where you are supporting this child or children. And it's easier that way to just run a spreadsheet or get a bank statement to show where you're doing deposits if it is a case where you haven't got an automatic deduction through your employer to show that you're supporting a child or children. So yes, but you know how it goes, Shaka Zulu? All those things can be created, my love. Barbara G, no one has mentioned that the Caymanian spouse may not be here as some of them were only married to get USA or England citizenship. I personally know of one such case which was reported and not a thing was done. Really? Well, this is what I was telling you. No one has mentioned that the Caymanian spouse may not be here as some of them were only married to get to the United States and England. You mean the Caymanian not even being in the island? Well, my love, it goes back, Miss Barbs, as what I was saying. We are the only ones to blame for that. We are the only ones to blame. And when I say we, I mean Caymanian in this case. Because if that is the easiest way in acquiring Caymanian status, or even, not even status, but the ability to acquire a Cayman travel document, entrance into acquiring UK citizenship through the naturalization process, and then a UK passport. Why not? Why not? You know what's sad though, Miss Barbara? When you hear persons actually saying, well, they the fool. They know exactly. There was an agreement. Oh, come on. You can marry them for a biscuit. You can marry them for $500. They'll take it. Yeah, man. Be good. Just pop a little 100 there, a little 300 there. You know how embarrassing that is? To actually hear it spoken of, and what they're actually speaking about is our own people. That's sad. But again, this is not casting any judgment. This is just saying we got to look at ourselves too. We got to look at ourselves, and we have to own up and take the blame where the blame lies as well. You can have all the legislation in the world. If I know I'm getting into thing out of emotion and not true love, how the heck that marriage officer could figure that out? It's almost impossible. You just got to hope. You just got to hope that they're declaring the truth. Yeah. But if you know that you are guilty right now of doing this, you shouldn't open your mouth with what has happened in our country. You shouldn't. What Tartarians say, they created this mess. That should be front and center. Oh, okay, Shaka Zulu. Thank you for correcting that. Yeah. But I'd like to hear you weighing in on this. I would like to get your feedback on this or any other topic. And I thank you for those of you who are commenting. 345-936-8255. Many of you know how emotive immigration is and immigration reform is for Cayman. And I know that a lot of us are on the edge of our seats because we did admit that this is a huge undertaking, but one that was needed, one that was asked for, and one that is finally now making its move, okay? But all persons were asking for was transparency, continued interaction, engaging with the public, and letting the public feel as though they're being heard. What happens now when we find ourselves in this situation where you're having articles of this nature popping out at us, and, you know, it's becoming a reality that people are going to be disenfranchised, maybe because of a few unscrupulous actors, that everybody's going to suffer. And I think it is now water under the bridge as to whether or not the general consensus of the Caymanian people was that immigration reform is not long overdue. No one is saying that. It is long overdue. But at the end of the day, with a statement being made like that, if Caymanians continue to actually so loosely engage in certain behaviors, ain't no law in the world gonna limit that. Now it only slows down based on what is proposed, the acquisition of Caymanian status. It may or may not slow down the acquisition of naturalization or a UK passport. But the root of one's ability to get there, the foundation of one's ability to reach that is based on marriage. And that, my friends, is a us problem. It's an individual problem. And you got to wonder what they're thinking about. Put your pride aside. And if things not working out, think about it. That's another status that is going to be up for consideration. And you know that it's not a legit application. So it's going to be interesting how this all unfolds. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks. You're live. It's been a while. How are you?
Well, it's been a while. How have you been? Well, I know I've been watching you. I know how roughly you've been, unless you put some secret thing,
I'm here just giving thanks.
Yeah, well, me too. I've been listening, of course, to the debate. Your guy there, Jimbo, is quite a debater. Eh?
You leave my Jimbo boy. My Jimbo. I got to protect my Jimbo.
Yeah, well, I want to say a few things. One of them is about the immigration issue, but not in a generalized way.
Mm-hmm.
More about what was reported about 2 days ago in the campus.
Mm-hmm.
The deputy governor was on Tammy Suleiman's I think it's called Forefront Show, the campus show.
Mm-hmm.
And the deputy governor announced there that in 2024, there were like 1,100 applications for naturalization as BOTC citizens.
Yeah, for naturalization. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then he said in 2025, it more or less doubled. It was like 2,100
in 1 month, almost in 1 month. I think I read.
Well, they said in 1 month, like the last month of 2025, they had like about 500 in that month alone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So okay, there would have been some issues of a backlog because the website was down and so forth. But I think what is clear is that there was a big jump from 2024 to 2025
Mm-hmm.
on applications for naturalization. You see, what I did when I first read the article, I didn't know I couldn't remember whether those were applications for naturalization or applications for passports, because that's a little bit different.
I got it was naturalization before you go for the passport.
Well, exactly. Like if you somebody who is not a Caymanian is of right and so all that, you apply for naturalization, okay?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But my understanding is that if you are a Caymanian, like you are a Caymanian as of right, and you're trying to get passports for your kids, you don't go through the process of naturalization. You do go through a process where they are acknowledged as being your children and birth certificates and so on, and then you go and apply for your passport. Naturalization is only for those people who don't have it as of right, people who who don't have it as of right. And the reason why I made that further inquiry to be sure,
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to be sure that those 1,100 and 2,100 are not applications for passports.
Mm-hmm.
they are applications for naturalization. So in other words, none of those 1,100 or 2,100 are Caymanians as of right. You understand? Now, why that is significant?
Not necessary. Okay, yeah. You're quite right. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that if those people are, since Caymanians don't apply for naturalization, you can't naturalize in a country where you've got a right to be in, So, but anyway, if I am correct, therefore, in saying that those figures are figures for naturalized people.
No, hold on, caller. You could have somebody who applied for Caymanian status on the grounds of descent that wasn't legal and ordinarily resident here, because they would not have met the 3-year threshold under the British Nationality Act. Remember, it's two separate pieces of legislation. There's a legal and ordinarily resident element, and then there's the grant, the actual vehicle that makes you eligible for that. So just for hypothetically speaking, broad brush, the majority of those applications possibly are not yet Caymanian, right? But there could be a percentage that is already Caymanian on the grounds of descent. You get me? And those would be those on the grounds of descent who were over the age of 18, that could, through lineage, that probably were living overseas or just found that they have, you understand? It may be a small percentage, but I don't want to use it as a blanket statement that not anybody there in those numbers could be the fact that they don't already have Caymanian citizenship, because there is a small possibility.
What you're saying therefore is that if, for example, you are not living overseas and but you have been living in the Cayman Islands, you together with your kids, and you want to get passports for your kids, you don't have to go through naturalization as a process, do you?
No, the passport is totally different from the naturalization, because if you it's two separate things.
So you could be naturalized, like you are mentioning a third category, which I haven't heard of, a third category like of people who were living outside the islands, and then they come back to the islands and they want to get the passport, but they have to be here, you said, for 3 years?
No, for the naturalization on the grounds of descent. Okay, let's say I was in Utila in Honduras, and I found out that I have lineage through grandparents or parents. I have never. I'm 50 and I'm just discovering this out. I could actually file an application for the grant of Caymanian citizenship for status on the grounds of descent, but would not have met the legal and ordinarily resident threshold to be eligible for naturalization that would have entitled me to the Cayman passport. Remember, I'm born in Honduras.
I have the 9 years.
Right. Well, in this case, 5. 3 to 5. 3 to 5.
If 3 to 5. Because if you are a total foreigner and you come to Cayman and you stay you need to be in Cayman for 9 years for you to be able to get naturalization. This is after you get PR.
PR.
Yeah, you get PR at 8 years, and then you get, according to the current law.
Yeah.
You get PR at 8 years, and then at 9 years you apply for naturalization. So that's how that happens. And then you are mentioning this other category, which is like you've got Caymanian lineage, but you have not been living in the Cayman Islands. You can come and you can become naturalized, you said, after something like 3 to 5 years.
Once you've been here, but that doesn't mean that you wouldn't have already been granted status. You can get status on the grounds of descent. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So you're legal and ordinarily resident, Because the British Nationality Act of 1982 and the Cayman Islands immigration law is two separate pieces of law. The British Nationality Act is based on the United Kingdom. So even though we are doing immigration reform, amendments to the British Nationality Act is not dealt with, or amendments to that has to be done in the UK. No minister can actually change that. So what you can do is make it more difficult through your local immigration law to acquire that, but you can't amend the eligibility, legal and ordinary residency for being eligible to get naturalized unless that's amended over in the UK.
Yeah, because the Cayman passport, although it's called a Cayman passport, is really a UK passport, so it has to be done under UK law.
Correct.
Okay, but the reason I got into that little detail is because I'm trying to establish that the overwhelming majority of people who are applying for naturalization, the overwhelming majority are people who have got no Caymanian lineage
Correct.
and they are not entitled.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
That will be the overwhelming number, because I imagine that if that little category that you've mentioned, I imagine there are very, very few
Small.
people who fall under that. It's small. In fact, one time I had to act for a client who eventually got status. But what I'm trying to try to say is this. What it means, therefore, is that the number of people who are becoming eligible for naturalization, these are incomers, other than the people who come by heritage or who have been living in the Cayman Islands also come by the heritage. Other than those two categories, like those total foreigners who come in, that is the overwhelming majority of those people who are 1,100 and 1,200. What it means is the number of people who will be eligible for status in 5 to 6 years has been going up apparently. Okay.
And unless they have not been here, you're not gonna be able to say you're not eligible.
Exactly.
It's almost a rubber stamper through naturalization.
Yeah, exactly. And you see, if the numbers can go up that steeply, then you can predict that possibly the numbers will keep going up. Okay. Why?
Yeah.
Because the population has been going up.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
In fact, I mentioned this either on your show or another show. I said, look, under this new immigration law, since you are not going to arrest anything straight away, the numbers of grants may well go up before they go down. And to me, this is indicative possibly that may be the case. Now, we don't know whether this trend will continue, but to me, when it doubles, you know that to me it makes sense that it's doubling. Why? Because the population also has been increasing. It is now about 90,000 or somewhere there. So the significance of this, Sabrina, is that since this new immigration law does not address that, since it will only start biting in terms of PR, it will start biting in 9 years. In terms of status, it will start biting in 20 years. It means that by the time it starts to bite, these numbers are likely to be going up.
We could be over the 100,000 by then.
Oh, exactly.
And
there's another thing that France reconfirmed. If you go to that interview between 25 and 26 minutes, 25 and 27 minutes, he says clearly, oh no, nobody will be required to leave immediately. They can still be here for 8 or 9 years, then they can decide what they want to do. He is confirming
what we said.
That,
the transitional provisions protects a certain, for anybody who's already here.
Exactly. And I think this is why it is important for every year for them to keep tabs on this, because to me, the way it looks, they haven't done anything. By the time it bites in 9 years, you could well be having something like maybe 3 or maybe even 4,000 BOTC applications, and which means 5-6 years down the road, status as well. And meanwhile, the Cayman population, the Caymanian as of right population is not increasing. Ask yourself where we will be in 10 years' time if this trajectory continues.
That's the harsh reality. Even if you make the eligibility for applying for Caymanian status 15, 20 years, the mere fact is that these people are still on the way. But there is a provision under the immigration law that says you either apply for Caymanian status on the grounds of naturalization, that's being naturalized, once you can prove that you've been legal and ordinarily resident here already for 15 years. You follow me?
Yeah.
15 years. Now, unless you say you're going to move that 15 to 20 years, that's another 5 or 21. at the end of the day, somebody could still reach that anniversary time. It's still status. You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, that's the other thing, because the first basic point is, if I come to Cayman in February 2000 this year, 2026, I come to Cayman in February, and then the law comes into effect as we expect on the 1st of March.
Mm-hmm.
What applies to me when I apply for BOT for naturalization is the 9-year period.
Yeah, for you,
Okay.
you would be under the old system based on what is
both of the PR will be 8 years for me.
Mm-hmm.
For the naturalization will be 9 years. So, in other words, if I come to Cayman today and I want to apply when I apply for status in 8 years' time, it will be the old law which will apply to me.
Still.
And then if I want to apply, for status in 15 years' time from February 2026,
Yes,
which
sir.
is like 2041,
Yes, sir.
I am still applying under the old law.
Yes, sir.
In 2041.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
So what have they done? What have they done? Therefore, they haven't done a thing. In fact, there is a guarantee. If this trend continues, there is a guarantee that by the time, say in 20 years' time, I think Caymanians will probably be down to about 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Caymanians is of right. So I just thought that a lot of people, I know that Charles Glidden was talking about it a little bit. I didn't get a chance to engage him. He talked a little bit about it in about 2 days ago. But to me, I think this is something for Caymanians to look at. And I think it also emphasizes the point that it is very important, perhaps every quarter, for these figures to be made public. And I think it is good that France made them public, because people should understand exactly that this immigration law has done very little. They will cut down some grants, or maybe a few 75 maybe marriages, which they might say, okay, this one was not a marriage of convenience and so on, but that is not going to have a big effect on the overall numbers. So.
But caller, he is giving numbers based on British Nationality Act applications. There are a number of persons who have applied for Caymanian status that are not even naturalized. So it's a combination of two figures that we need. Yeah, there's nothing that mandates you that you have to be naturalized if you've the spouse of a Caymanian, gone through the RERC process, you've reached your 7 years, 8 years of 7 years of marriage, you go straight for your Caymanian status application and you get your status. You may be one of those that's saying, why do I need a UK passport? Why do I need a Cayman passport? I don't have to be naturalized. I'm fine with the passport that I have because it doesn't hinder me from going here, there, and everywhere. You see what I'm saying? So, in addition to numbers,
you might already be British anyway.
Exactly.
So,
so the two numbers that you are actually asking about that would be critical is stats from the Office of the Deputy Governor for Naturalization, but also the amount of grants. Right to be Caymanian on the grounds of marriage, right to be Caymanian on the grounds of descent, especially. Yeah.
So well, this is very interesting because let me mention another thing which I found, which I found interesting, which is indirectly connected to this. I was watching the opening of the Grand Court last month. And when I looked at it, if somebody showed you that whole footage and says, where do you think this is happening? Apart from maybe Cayman being mentioned here and there, it could as well have been in Jamaica or in the UK. There were no Caymanians there. The only Caymanians I saw were a few politicians. I think the Ombudsman Sharon Rolston, Suzanne Bothwell, and a few other people who might not have come into the frame. But to me,
you're speaking about indigenous Caymanians, generational Caymanians. Okay, because there were Caymanians there.
Caymanians as of right, as the law calls them, they were not there. But you know where I saw a lot of Caymanians as of right?
Where?
At the National Heroes Day.
That was us.
So to me, that shows you that there are two Caymans which are taking place right now.
Mm.
Yes, the Caymanians in the society in terms of the business and the things they were being recognized for doing, that is for Caymanians. Caymanians are there. But in the judicial and legal service, clearly the Caymanians are not there. That's totally another, like the South Sound Cayman, which is there. To me, it was really stark to me.
Mm-hmm.
When I looked at that this really shows there are two Caymanians, and unless the government does something about this, like these same figures we are talking about, it will be even worse in 15 to 20 years. In fact, at that point, I don't think people will even be talking about it. I think they'll just accept.
Mm-hmm.
But this again dovetails with something that you were talking about last week, about which was the issue about Caymanians in the workplace and workplace bullying and all that.
Mm-hmm.
You see, the more the expatriate crowd increases in size, the more their behavior also changes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? In any place, once you become a minority, it is very difficult for you to get redress for your grievances. Because if I'm a Caymanian, my boss is a status holder, my boss's boss is a status holder, I can be bullied, but I'll have nowhere to run. Okay. Yeah, I'll be nowhere to run because, I mean, I have seen it myself. I mean, when I was dealing with certain status holders in my portfolio of legal affairs, I could see that certain decisions never went my way.
Mm-hmm.
Certain Caymanian friends of mine could see that their decisions were not going their way. Why? Because the greater the number of status holders, the more they stick together, particularly if they come from the Eastern Caribbean, and they ensure that the Caymanians are oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, there is not enough that is being done at the moment to try and address those kinds of issues. The politicians, I think, are afraid to deal with those issues, apparently, because now they can see that status holders have now, they are increasing in terms of their political power, in terms of the right to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result, although the politicians could exercise better checks and balances, there is a problem. Apparently, Cayman is a house divided. I was very disappointed with the opposition. The opposition said, well, they didn't like the immigration bill, but they said we're going to vote for it in any case. What is that supposed to mean? Okay, what is that supposed to mean? Why don't you get up and you put it on the record that you agree with the following matters in the immigration law, but you believe it's not enough, and therefore you want to vote for it? Why can't you do that? Why do you say it is not enough, but you still vote for it? To me, that's indicative that the opposition are not very strong on immigration reform anyway. Probably they are trying to pass a message to their sponsors that, okay, we won't be extreme about this. We will just, we're happy to go with what they've done. To me, it has made me not trust the opposition. How do you say, do you disagree, but you are going to vote in favor? The other thing they could have done, they could have just abstained.
There was only one, I stand to
have,
be corrected, that abstained and that was Miss Julie, besides those that were absent.
And that will be good, because what she is saying by that, she's saying basically, I won't vote against it because I agree with what's in it. At the same time, I won't vote for it because I don't think it's enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been the best thing for the entire opposition to do. The fact that they didn't do that, to me, is a sign that they are not very strong on it anyway. But at the end of the day, Caymanians will have to decide how this is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I just believe, you see, because a lot of people were misled. They thought, the only people who will be grandfathered in are those who have already applied for status or are going through judicial review. But that's not true. Everybody who is here in Cayman by the 1st of March will be grandfathered in. When they apply in 9 or in 15 years, the current law will be applying. By that time, I think you will have been, You see, according to what Franz said, he said that on average they get about 1,000 applications for naturalization every year. But with the increase in population, I think that is going to continue trending up. Maybe it might not be 2,000 every year, but I imagine it probably might settle for a while at about 1,500 every year. And so 1,500 every year for 9 years, how many are you going to have? And how does that compare with the natural birth rate, which is under 400 per each Caymanian is of right? Because according to what the research that I think it was Ben Warren who, when he called you, he said that the number of births in Cayman was a little over 800 per year. And the estimate was that around 400 or so Caymanians is of right. And if that birth rate is going to continue being low, basically, Cayman is drowning every year, and I don't think that this immigration law is going to do much. But at the end of the day, let me acknowledge one thing, Sabrina. Immigration law reform will be very hard to do because it was left too late. It was left too late, and I think some of the things that would need to be done, I don't think can be done. One of the problems that I think Cayman has, which the British Virgin Islands doesn't have, is that anybody can come to Cayman and buy land.
That was something Mr. Roy and then land back. Yeah, that's something Mr. Roy. Yeah, he's just he even wrote about that in his book, and there have been other persons that are signaling we need to stop it. Something needs to be done.
Something needs to be done because at the end of the day, and then I saw his letter in the campus as well. He said again something similar to that. I read it in his first book, Cayman Islands Society in Transition, and basically at the moment, I think Cayman is going to have it very, very tough. But I just don't think this current government is equal to the task. I think they have quietly, in my view, I think capitulated. They do understand that they themselves, their future might be uncertain in politics if they are too tough on immigration reform. But I thought that if they wanted to preserve the rights of indigenous Caymanians, that's something they would want to do. But we'll see what happens. So you said something the other day about private members' bills.
Yeah, what was it had said about that? What it was I had said about the private members' bill?
Yeah, well, you said well, it was possible in Cayman for a private members' bill to be brought in
for the 70-year-old, increasing the retirement age of the civil service. Don't be surprised. I used it. Yeah,
and that too. Yeah, you see, two related issues. First of all, the retirement age is very interesting. You know, in Canada, they don't actually have a compulsory retirement age. They don't actually have a retirement age because there was a case which went to the Supreme Court of Canada, and they said basically, if you retire somebody automatically when they are still capable of working, that's discrimination on the grounds of on the basis of age. Okay, so but they said, look, in different jobs, if somebody is going to be a firefighter, there is a physical side to the job. Yes, you might say, okay, somebody must retire at 60. That is fine.
Right.
But if somebody, for example, is simply a social worker, okay, they go to a home, this and that, and so on, you can't ask them to retire at 60 compulsory because, I mean, they can still work. So there's no compulsory retirement age in Canada. In Cayman, I don't think even the 65 in government is necessarily compulsory, but I think it is related more to pension contributions.
Right. And theirs continue for life once you've been employed for 10 years or more into core government.
For 10 years or more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it'll be very interesting for them to look into that. My slight complaint with that is that the years in the judiciary, they retire at 70 years old, while in the government, they retire at 65. I don't think that is fair, because why should judges go on until they are 70? In fact, if anything, I would have said that judges should retire maybe 5 years earlier because of the nature of the job and the consequences of making mistakes and that kind of thing. You know, the way judges work is that You go, you argue a case, they go and sit down, and then they write a judgment. If they make a mistake in the judgment, it's very difficult to correct.
Right.
But if a civil servant makes a mistake in a memo or something, you can always call it back. Judicial things are not like that. But you see, this is the problem with the judiciary. The judiciary in Cayman has been eating the lunch of the government for a long time. They have carved out all these exceptions for themselves, and because of these exceptions, they have become now so powerful, and it is very difficult now to discipline judges. But that's the discussion for another day. But private members' bills, Cayman should try and develop that system as a system. In other countries, what they do with private members' bills is that it was recognized a long time ago that, well, look, it is not possible to say, well, you can tell people they can bring private members' bill, but who is going to draft the bills for them? Right? Yeah, they can get somebody from the private sector, but private sector lawyers are not very good legislative counsel. And on top of that, they cost a lot of money. So what they have done in other countries is they have created a system where a certain number of hours of the legislative drafting department are allocated to the opposition. Okay, they are given. They said, okay, fine. If you have got a private members' bill you want to be drafted, yes, you can use the government drafters, but only for a certain limited period of time. And I think in Cayman, that's something that could be looked at, because there's no point telling people they've got a right to bring a private member's bill, and then they don't have the means to be able to get the necessary expertise. And Kenneth Bryan, in one of the recent sittings, he mentioned that in Parliament. The other problem also in Cayman is, I have to say this again, there is a very limited ability of members of Parliament to understand, to scrutinize bills. They have a reasonable knowledge of the procedures, because the procedures, they come in, they read the standing orders, they work through government, finally they learn the procedures. But at the end of the day, the technical ability to be able to examine bills
and to have strategy to debate it. To have strategy to debate it, which shows clear knowledge and understanding of how you actually are going to defend your people or a stance.
Exactly. Because you see, you can't read a bill and understand it fully until you understand the rules of statutory interpretation, the rules of judicial review, and also have a bit of an understanding of how drafters of legislation think and the sorts of common problems that arise. And there has been a resistance towards the training of MPs regarding that. Now, I remember one time I was having a chat with another talk show host, and they said, but you see, whenever MPs are elected, they come in and they are trained. And my answer to that, which I didn't give on that particular occasion because we were short of time, my answer to that is that, yes, they are taught about the procedures, but they are not taught how to scrutinize bills. That's a different skill. Okay, the only people who can really teach you that is people who are either they're writing legislation themselves. Some lawyers as well can help you with statutory interpretation and judicial review, but you really need somebody who has worked in writing legislation so that they can tell you how certain problems arise. Sabrina, if you read cases, I'm doing my book right now on statutory interpretation in the Commonwealth Caribbean. I'm at a very advanced stage. If you read some of the issues that arise in there, you just say to yourself, if this bill, when they were writing it, they had sufficiently scrutinized it, this problem wouldn't have arisen. For example, there was a case of money laundering where it was said that if an amount of the money laundered amount is beyond a certain amount, then you can order the amount to be forfeited to the state. And then it turned out that although there was a provision which says that there is a maximum beyond which you can forfeit your proceeds, there was actually no figure in the legislation.
Oh, wow.
It just says there was no figure in the legislation. And how the mistake occurred was because they copied legislation from the UK.
Cut and
but they
paste.
just copied it. They were
Cut and
cut and
paste.
paste. But it so happened in the UK, there was another piece of legislation where the amount was specified.
Mm-hmm.
So when it got before Chief Justice Smelly says, well, it says that there's a threshold amount here,
But
and
it's
there's a rule which applies there, but the figure is not here.
mm-hmm.
And then they found out that actually how the mistake occurred. It was
Okay.
because they copied something in the UK out of context. But Chief Justice Mary decided to take the pound amount from the UK,
Mm-hmm.
converted it into Cayman Islands, and then applied it.
Oh wow.
But it
Because it
shouldn't
was
have done
already
that.
law,
That's-
see. Yeah, but you see, I can see why he did it though, because it was already law.
Well, only half of it was already law, because what was law was simply that if you cross the threshold amount, you can forfeit it. But the
Mhm.
law didn't prescribe the
amount.
threshold amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the UK, it said if you cross the threshold amount, this happens, and there was a threshold amount which was prescribed. So to me, I would have said, too bad, I can't apply the UK law. This is just a mistake, and it can be corrected by legislative change, but not by me. But that's an opinion that I have. But I do understand how he didn't want the law to appear as if
It was so
is,
weak, it had no use. Yeah. Mhm.
weak,
Yeah.
weak and toothless. And then usually that's a thing which judges, as you know, have to deal with all the time.
It's
like
a balancing act. You don't
Am
want
I-
to throw away the baby with the bathwater, is what he did.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. You are saying, okay, look, laws are not perfect, but
Correct.
can I apply this in this way reasonably
Correct.
so that the law is not defeated?
Yeah.
But I mean, I happen to disagree with him, but I do understand that there will be judges who will look at it, because they are always trying to. See, the law was made for man and not man for the law. So when the law exists, you try to make sure that the law helps man regulate society. So
Right.
that's the way it is.
So there we go.
But I just think that in Cayman, it is very important that people in government be trained to do these things. I might have mentioned to you one of the charts we had. There is a guy named Daniel Greenberg who was a leading authority in the UK on statute legislation. He's got all kinds of books,
Mm-hmm.
And what he does, he has retired since then. And what he does, he goes to different parliaments in different parts of the Commonwealth and the UK to assist members of parliament who are elected on how to scrutinize bills. He also he even developed, he's got a big book on statutory interpretation, but he's got also a smaller sort of like soft cover book of about maybe 100 pages, which he uses to teach non-lawyers on how to read statutes. And that, I think, in Cayman, if people could get trained with that, I think that would be very good. Because otherwise, you see, I mean, MPs in Cayman are very well educated. They are very well advanced in other areas. They just happen to be deficient in this in this legal side.
I guess
of
everything
it. So,
takes time. Conversing with learned persons like yourself and actually taking the initiative to ask the right questions to the right people and surrounding yourself with the right people. Don't be a puppet. Don't be a puppet to just do things. You got to be able to read, understand for yourself, and surround yourself with persons who means well. And where you don't understand, you ask the questions, you go and you research. Yeah. So, but yeah, we do have our strengths, weaknesses, but that is something that could have some serious consequences if you don't really get it yourself.
If you don't get it yourself. And I think I mentioned this to you last time when the Honorable Arden McLean, he read my book on the legislative process, one 200-page book. And then there's also another one specifically on Cayman. And he recommended my book to the new MPs, the ones who were elected last time. He recommended my book to them because he read it. He found it very useful. And I was so grateful that he did that because one, he read the book. I know that because way back, this is like maybe 20, when he was still in the house. We ran into each other outside the bank and so on. So I read your book. I thought it was very, very useful and so on. I wish that I had read it, when I was a minister and so forth. So we talked a little bit, and then when he recommended it to the new MPs, I know he wasn't just doing that because he was trying to be nice, although he's always a very, very nice person. Yeah, but he was doing it because he had read it, and he said, look, you read your Erskine May, because that's the Bible. But if you want to read also about how legislation is supposed to be dealt with, how it's supposed to be processed, you can read also Billy Simamba's book on the legislative process, which I thought was very kind. And I think that's a very good thing to do. I think people in Cayman should do that more, to say, well, if somebody is a Caymanian or somebody who is associated with Cayman has done something that you think that is good, it is good for the person, of course, to know that you are recommending it, but also it's good for you to be able to read those things, because they are meant at the end of the day to assist you.
I gotta be very honest with you. There's one thing of someone wanting to invest in themselves, but it could be quite easy for, speaking from the politician's perspective now, for you to get so consumed in operating and running your ministry and actually dealing with from a constituency level that it takes a different breed to do what you're doing, learn, walk and chew gum, I would say, at the same time, especially as a newcomer, And it is something that will consume you, but it makes you into a better person when you read, research, read books like that to help you along the way. But that has to be an appetite that the individuals themselves want to do. You understand? Because when you feed yourself with that knowledge, you go and you explore and you educate yourself, you see it from a different perspective, then you will have the right questions to ask because you're at a different level. Sometimes that may not work in your favor.
Yeah, sometimes it might not. I mean, there's so many. I mean, what you're saying is so right, Sabrina, in that you get into a position like that, it's a sense of responsibility, especially if you are a first-time MP. You want to make sure that you learn as quickly as possible, and it's the primary responsibility really is yours. You should do that. But some people, are not good at reading. If you bring them into a room for one day and you talk to them, they might get more out of it. When I was learning to write legislation, there used to be a theory that you cannot learn how to write legislation in a classroom. You just have to go into an office and then people will teach you how to do it. Now, that's not quite correct. You are if you come into a structured course and you are taught how to write legislation, and then after that, then you go and gain experience, you will find that sometimes that's more useful to you because you have learned the principles over a short period of time. And if the syllabus is well structured, it will cover a variety of things. And then after that, you go and gain experience. The problem sometimes with just going out there to gain experience is that sometimes the experience is not too rich, in the sense that you end up doing the same thing 2, 3, 4 times. And you do not do a variety of things. Or sometimes you may get away with doing it 2, 3, 4 times, but you are not really doing it correctly, but nobody's telling you that you are not doing it correctly.
Correct.
Like in Cayman, I'll tell you, one of the courses I have is on how to write cabinet papers. This one is a half-a-day course. It's not even 1 day, but 1 day. And what I try to teach people in that course is that cabinet papers, like in Cayman, you've got one format for a cabinet paper. When you went to cabinet, I'm quite sure you had this format which was coming every week. This is the format for cabinet paper. But you see, in a slightly more advanced system, and in this respect, even Jamaica is more advanced, they have got various categories of cabinet papers. You've got the cabinet paper, that general format, they maintain that. But they have also some guidelines on what adjustments to make to that cabinet paper depending on subject matter. Like if it has to do with the environment, there is a certain format which they've prescribed based on the basic format, but which has got a few adjustments. If it is an approval of a loan or a contract, it's written slightly different. If it is something relating to gender, it is also slightly different. So there's about 5 or 6 different types of papers that you can do. And Cayman needs to move to a level where they have specialized papers like that rather than using just the same format. The format is the same in the sense that it begins at the decision sort, the reasoning, and da-da-da-da-da-da. That format is the same, but the details, the internals of it, should be different depending on the type of paper that you're doing. That is something that I'm hoping sometime I'll be able to stand in front of some MPs and be able to sort of take them through that. It'll be very, very useful to do. But well, it is quite useful. Well, I have listened to you quite a bit last couple of days. I was just tied up doing ABC. I learned quite a bit, by the way, when you were talking about the pensions.
Oh yeah, Siobhan.
then,
Yeah, me and Siobhan was on that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we went on that one, and then it's really useful. That's one lady I'd like to speak to sometime, but in due course I'll reach out to her and so on, because I'm quite sure that I can learn a lot from her as well. So.
Yeah.
Well, let me leave you.
Thank you,
Sabrina. Nice to talk to you. Of
always
course,
a pleasure.
After a long time.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Take care. Have a good
too,
weekend, sir.
Bye-bye.
Sure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There we go. Always good to have Mr. Samamba's input. And yeah, we were playing catch up. Remember when we were having issues with the phone? That was the last time that I spoke with him. I think a week has gone, if not a little bit longer. But just to keep you, it is open mic. The phone lines are still open. We got 15 minutes left to go. Denver asked a question here. And for this person who was asking whether or not we'll be covering the game for under 14 live, I'm not so sure, because we do have another show that's coming up. Authentic is coming on at 7. And I'm not so sure if there's other lineup that will be happening. So I'm not so sure for that. Just making sure I answer the questions. Denver asks, does our MPs do a SWOT exercise to understand where they stand in their ministry to improve themselves? You pretty much, Denver, get a... what you could call it? You get like orientation to your ministry. You get introduced to the various departments that fall under your remit. And then you will have a close relationship with your chief officer, deputy chief officer, or officers. And then they actually guide you along pretty much how it's supposed to be done. Exactly to the extent that you're saying, I could honestly tell you no. It's based right now, and this is just based on my time. Of course, things may have changed, that it depends on a lot of the relationships that you build while you're there, and you try to learn as quickly as possible. One of the things that have been stated, even with what Mr. Balika was proposing in how the papers are written, is that it is what it is, and you will have certain ministries almost appearing to be delivering at different levels. And they're trying, I know for a fact, this is something that the soon-to-be former deputy governor has always been trying to do, and he has made that his promise, in making sure that all ministries are performing at the same level, even with the way and the manner in which papers are written and how things are being presented. Sometimes there is a difference in based on the ministries. It is what it is. And that is one thing that he was making sure that he was going to try and do, to make sure that all ministries are performing at the same level. But it takes a lot of what you actually, when you get in and you orientate yourself and you realize, oh my God, I need to know this, I need to know that, I need to know that. And there's so much things you're having to do. Hold on. At the same time, it can take a lot. And this is why it's important for you to surround yourself with, let's say, even former politicians, persons who have the skill sets as well. Because at that national level, you're, especially as a newbie, it's a lot. It's a lot. This is by no means making excuse. And then educating the voters as well. You may have heard a lot of persons saying it is to one's disadvantage as a first timer to be elected and go straight to minister. Unless you have been around politics, follow the legislative proceedings and all that sort of stuff, familiarize yourself with standing orders or you do political science, you're automatically on a back foot. And let me tell you something, you better know you're going to learn it quickly. Otherwise, it could be at your disadvantage. Now, I'm quite sure you will have the opposite of persons saying maybe you don't want to have somebody who knows it, who is not someone that you can wrap around the finger and all that sort of stuff. Well, then that's where you have to do your ego adjustment, because unfortunately there are going to be different personalities that you're working amongst, and you just have to honestly just navigate that the best you can. So Denver, I see what you're saying. In the modernization of the whole place, maybe this is one of the things that they will take on. So let's see. We just have to give them chance. Maybe under a different deputy governor, we may see certain things happen. I don't know. But where we're coming from, the modernization, and as we continue to evolve in this space, we're seeing all the different legislations that are coming in place. We're seeing where persons now, and even you, the regular, common, day-to-day members of civil society, is saying, look, we need more accountability. And you are now finding your voices. I'm seeing that. A lot more of you are finding your voices and you're saying, look, enough is enough. This is foolishness. What do you need to be better in this area? I'm disappointed. And you the more you actually make it vocal that you're seeing and you're observing, guess what? That in itself will enact change. Tartarian says, they are so busy, maybe they could hire someone to read them. It has been done on History Channel back in the day. Maybe, I mean, with all these AI tools now as well, find a trusted one. It's not that hard to break it down. It is really not that hard. Yes, but after they should be doing this exercise among themselves every 3 months, maybe Denver, let's hope that they're listening to your suggestions. And I saw where they were on a retreat and all that sort of stuff planning. I think we reported that here. We can only give them a chance. It's the end of the first month. They have just embarked on their own budget. And let's give the call quarterly. I don't know. It's up to you. There's a lot going on. There's still a lot more to do. And to be honest with you, they technically have 2.5 years to get it done. Yeah, because 1 year is already gone. April is here and they would have been in this role for a year. Their budget just kicked in on the 1st of January. And now they're going to deliver, or hope they can deliver, on their strategic policy statement that was tabled before the House of Parliament. So there you go. Know your strength, weakness, and opportunities to achieve more. That's quite right. But sometimes when you get those titles, you just lose all sight of orientation, and you just got to get all involved and enveloped into the actual role. And, Denver, bottom line, sir, it requires a lot of humility. It involves a lot of being able to take constructive criticism and a lot of self-control, self-discipline as well. And you must be able to listen 3 times as much as you speak, not 2 times. Listen 3, let's do that 4 times as much as you speak. And observe 10 times. Observe. You have to observe. Yes. Denver says, well, that's how they find out that it's not difficult to implement. Yeah. So right now it's navigating the space is quite interesting, and I wish them all the luck. I wouldn't want to be in their shoes, to be honest. Thank God that the universe has worked it out the way it is for me. And it's not a cop-out. It's just being honest, because we have seen where times have changed. You're seeing now and where we are. And I'm just so happy that I'm in this space that we can share and we can educate each other. I can bring things to the forefront that will educate us. Highlight it so that you can understand. Before we end today's episode and embark on the weekend, at the beginning, I said that the Minister of Health had a press briefing today, and she's promising more of these press briefings to keep you up to date. I've gotten some messages because you heard now that there's now a new HSA board of directors. And this is what was announced on that press briefing as she presented here. Not all of the board members are presented in this picture, but the new chairman of the HSA board is now Mr. Timothy Ridley. Deputy chair is Neely Panton. HSA director Patrina Moore, Michelle Coleman, Omari Corbin, Buck Grizzle, and Peter Spratt. That is the composition of your new HSA Board of Directors as announced this evening at a 3 p.m. press briefing that was held. And the Honorable Minister made sure she outlined the powers of herself, the role of the Board of Directors, and next steps of what's happening. She also declared that there has been a requested by her governance audit that has been asked of by KPMG. And she said that the audit is not a punitive audit, which means the audit, whatever the audit findings are brought about, was not to actually put blame or to get anybody out of a job. That's what that means. It is just to stop going off of speculations and just really see it for what it is. No matter what the outcome of the audit is, she's prepared to have the difficult conversations, address, and move forward. And, we want to congratulate all of those board members. We want to wish them all success, and good for her for getting the support in that audit and bringing that into bringing that to reality. So that was what, just in case you missed it, you can go on to the GIS YouTube and you can go back and you can watch that for yourself. Denver is saying, well, they are coming under more pressure because of your and show are contributing. Well, you know what, Denver, I'm glad that I have some sort of an idea. And it's all about balance, which is why I welcome both the opposition and the government on, so that we can actually have the conversation, whether they want to come on here because of the way I deliver and all that sort of stuff. That's just my style. You see how we've created this space. The door is open. The door is open because now you have somebody who was once there, who didn't shun, who didn't cover, who didn't, just shy away. And I'm here. And again, I thank Sandra for offering me this position. And thanks to all of you who are continuing to make this space a success. So Denver says, Neely Panton, wow. Pleased to know he is on the board, one of Canada's leading doctors. And Denver says, son of our soil, Mr. Armand Panton's son. Yes. Mm-hmm. Hey, CE Banks, good evening to you. Miss Rose, thank you for that compliment. I saw it earlier on, but Mr. Belika was speaking. Yes, I appreciate you. But yeah, that is the composition of your board. And apparently, and I stand to be corrected, no, this is right. I know that the current chair, Mr. Timothy Ridley, it doesn't appear as though that he will be there for a long time, but they already know, which was not declared, who will take over from him. But he did share that I guess he's an interim chair, who will be taking over from Mr. Ridley is someone who has a huge financial background. But of course, more information on this. This is continuously developing, but they're going to now meet with the minister, sit down and hear exactly what are the marching orders of the minister, the ministry, and also alike sit down and meet with the CEO of the HSA to hear their feedback. Then they'll, I guess, find out when they're going to meet, how they're going to meet. Then the transparency is there. People are asking to hear more. And the minister did allude to the fact that she feels the importance of healthcare here in the Cayman Islands, that it was this announcement and her speaking to the people warranted this press briefing and not in the format of a press release. Good for her. I congratulate her. I wish her all the success. And from the bottom of my heart, I wish the board all the success. She did as well. Thank all the former and current board members for accepting and for those who have served. And yes, 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 Denver. So let's see. Let us see. We can only put positive vibes out there and wish them, along with this entire administration, all the best. I also heard as well that I think the next time the House will be back in Parliament, the next sitting of the House is envisaged for March. So let's see when. A date yet is to be not known. And we know that there are a number of private members' motion that is already filed. We have told you those here as we are become aware of them. So lots of things happening. Lots, definitely, we ain't short of content, be it local or overseas. But as we come to an end of today's episode of Sabrina Speaks, I want to thank you all. We have survived the first month pretty much of January of 2026. And I'm so pleased, I'm so blessed to be able to be here with you as we continue to educate, inform, enlighten, and have some very difficult conversations as we continue to blossom and grow in this space. Without you, it is not possible. I thank you for your contributions. I thank you for your participation, and I thank you for your feedback. It means a lot, and you are the reason why I'm here. I want to wish everyone a safe and blessed weekend. Please be very careful on the roads. Please be safe. Love you all lots. God bless. And I will see you all on Monday, God's willing. Take care. Have a good weekend, guys.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.